Just want to say, from the bottom of our hearts, F you, DW! What kind of initials are those? Take that, DW Griffith.
Thank you, guys. This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe and help get this video to 4,000 likes. And I say, hey! Arthur and the Brain have invented a machine that tells you just how much of a domineering jerk someone is. Arthur's dad barely registers, while Mr. Ratburn's levels are off the charts. Guess we know who wears the pants in that relationship. Arthur goes to test the machine on DW, who turns out to be so big of a jerk that she destroys it.
What a surprise.
DW goes shopping for Emily's birthday present and has her heart set on the Marie Antoinette doll, which comes with a plastic cake and a detachable head. Mrs. Reed says it's too expensive, until her daughter threatens to have a public meltdown if she doesn't buy it. The next day, DW goes to Emily's party, which is so French I'm surprised it hasn't surrendered to the German barbecue next door. DW is severely underdressed for the party, but still has the gall to turn her non-existent nose up at Emily's Eiffel Tower cake, snail eclairs, and live polka band? Do the French enjoy a good polka, or is that just a Pennsylvania thing? I'm just saying, I've been to France and I don't remember hearing tubas and accordions echoing in the streets. DW gives her present to Emily and demands she open it on the spot. Emily explains she'll be opening her gifts at the end of the party after they do 34 other activities first, which as an introvert sounds like absolute hell. DW bitches and moans through the entire party. She makes her frustrations known, that way everyone is having just as bad a time as her.
This movie stinks.
Emily is about to make her birthday wish when DW blows out her candles.
Hurry it up already before you turn 6.
Fuck you. Sorry, I know I usually wait to the end of the episode to say that, but seriously, you already got your own birthday wish. Back off. Finally, it's time to open the gifts. What's that supposed to be, emo Mickey Mouse? DW shoves James out of the way so she can get to Emily first. She saves Emily the trouble of opening her present and insists on showing her how to play with it. Nice going, you fils de pute. Mrs. Reed picks up DW and asks her how the party was. Gee, I don't know. You let your demon daughter out in public without a chaperone. How the hell do you think it went? The next day, DW tries to invite Emily over for a playdate. Emily lies to the bossy big mouth and says she's busy practicing her French. Can you say, je te veux va te faire foutre? DW next calls James and is surprised he doesn't want to spend time with the girl who sexually harassed him. Even the Tibbleturds want nothing to do with her. Arthur says he's going to the library and DW decides to tag along, because having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. There it is! They walk past Emily's house as DW is somehow oblivious to her best friend having fun without her. Where the hell was that trampoline during the birthday party? They next pass by James's house, where DW finds him swimming with the Tibble tightwads. The three are bonding over their mutual hatred of DW.
I'm DW!
Yeah, you know things are bad when James would rather spend time with the look-alike losers than DW. DW storms off as she decides to cut ties with all her friends, even though it's clear they already made that decision without her. Instead of apologizing to her friends, DW decides to play by herself. She sets up a ping pong table in the driveway but somehow doesn't think to raise one side up to keep the ball from getting away. Sadly, the scene doesn't end with her chasing the ball into oncoming traffic. Meanwhile, Arthur and Buster are watching Children of the Damned, as any 8-year-old would, when DW steps directly in front of the TV.
What you watching?
Children of the Beans.
Wait, is this supposed to be a Children of the Corn homage? The writers know these two movies aren't the same, right? You had one job, PBS. The two are surprised to see DW spending the day inside.
Why don't you play with your friends?
I don't have any.
Arthur and Buster make no objection.
I thought you were gonna play by yourself. That was before I knew how boring I was.
Again, the two make no objection. DW demands to know why nobody wants to hang out with her. Arthur points out the obvious by reminding her of the time she invited James over and bossed him around the whole time.
No, you're not doing it right.
Seriously, why does this poor boy bother with her at all? DW refuses to admit fault and blames everyone else for doing everything wrong. Arthur then reminds her of when she hogged the balance beam during gymnastics.
You should apologize.
We're sorry.
You haven't done anything wrong.
We haven't?
I know, I'm just surprised as you are. And yes, I realize now she didn't quit gymnastics after DW flips. You can stop pointing that out to me in the comments, please. DW again refuses to accept her mistake and blames the Tibbletaints for distracting her. She rejects her brother's advice and says the world would be a better place if everyone was like her. DW nearly dozes off when a kid shows up to play with her. The kid turns out to be just as big a pain as DW, because she is DW. Wait, why are you surprised? You were looking right at her face 10 seconds ago. DW gets swarmed by dozens of her clones as they slowly nag her to death. Damn, they really busted out all the skins for this episode. Surprise, surprise, it turns out the whole thing was just a dream. A horrible, horrible dream. DW finally realizes the error of her ways and goes to gymnastics class. The other kids grimace at her arrival and James goes to hide in the bathroom. Smart man. Emily storms off when DW says she can use the balance beam first. Emily says DW will just make fun of her, which she almost does instinctively before biting her tongue. DW gives up her turn so Emily can try again. DW wins back her friends, which inspires the Tibble Tornadoes to see who can be nicer. Emily invites DW over for a playdate while the diabolical dimwits attempt to kill each other off screen. Let's review. DW convinced her mom to buy an expensive toy for her best friend's birthday, even though she clearly wanted the doll for herself. She ruined Emily's birthday party by complaining the whole time and refusing to let her play with her present. She was somehow surprised when her friends started avoiding her and chose to turn her back on them. She refused to change her attitude until she realized her worst nightmare is being trapped in a room with herself. And even when she finally apologized and put her ego in check, we all know it's only a matter of time before she reverts back to square one and drives all her friends away again. God, it's good to be back. F-U-D-W.
And I say, hey!
Arthur complains how DW insists on doing everything he does, like the time she made him look like a jackass at his birthday party, or when she entered the same basketball contest as him and won. Hey, what's with this underhand crap? This isn't softball. Turns out DW's new obsession is learning to ride a two-wheeler.
I don't know how to stop!
Oh, if only. Arthur is putting up posters for the bike-a-thon. Damn, Principal Haney, where you been hiding those hips? Arthur goes to Grandma Tibble to get sponsored when the Telltale Tibbles spring up from under the floorboards. Arthur gets his sponsorship when the demonic duo make him trip and break his neck. That afternoon, Arthur gets ready to go biking with his friends.
Did your mom say you can ride in the bike-a-thon, Buster?
I have to carry a cellular phone.
Cellular phone.
Damn it, show, stop reminding me how old you are, because it'll make me remember how old I am, and I don't like that. DW finds out about the bike-a-thon and demands to sign up. Francine tells her she'd be too slow on a tricycle. Then again, these kids are riding their bikes in denim jeans, so maybe she'd have a shot. DW tries to keep pace with her brother and ends up rolling all the way back to her house. She nurtures her fragile ego by retreating to the comfort of her imagination, where she's a two-wheeling badass who can outrace her brother, a horse, and the entire lineup of Formula One.
What kind of bike is that?
A two-wheeler!
For goodness sake, DW, it's a two-wheeler, not a Toyota. DW gets snapped back to reality by the Tibble Trolls, who show off their new bikes, complete with custom jump scare horns. They tease her that she won't be able to use her tricycle in the race.
Because it's a bike-a-thon, not a trike-a-thon.
You stay up all night coming up with that one? At dinner, DW starts kissing her dad's ass harder than Mr. Ratburn. DW's mom sees through her daughter's charade and tells her to cut the crap. DW then demands to get a two-wheeler while her eyebrows try to devour the rest of her face. DW's parents take her to the bike shop where she shits on every model in the store, until she finds this purple eyesore, which she customizes with her own handwritten vanity plate. The next day, DW pesters her dad to teach her to ride her new bike. Mr. Reed is busy making a lasagna Taj Mahal for the Elwood City Culture Club, which makes no sense since most lasagna is made with ground beef. DW begins to cry, and her dad pushes her onto Arthur without even asking him. Arthur and crew try to teach DW how to ride her bike, but can't agree on how to teach her. The lesson falls to pieces before DW even gets on the damn thing. The kids say screw it and head to lunch.
How do I get down?
You don't. You live there now. Arthur tries to teach DW the hand signals when she ends up summoning a cabbage from Mr. Sipple.
Where I come from, doing that on a bike means bring me a cabbage, fast!
This guy was only in 3 episodes, yet he clearly deserved his own spin-off. Don't tell me you wouldn't watch postcards from Mr. Sipple. DW impatiently demands to start riding, but forgets to ask how to stop the bike, until it's too late. She ends up flat on the ground and tries to gain some sympathy with her crocodile tears. Arthur persists with the lessons, like the good brother he is, and gradually teaches DW how not to suck at riding. He teaches her how to steer as well as avoid dogs. Wait, dogs like Pal or dogs like Fern? How are the animals of Elwood not stuck in a perpetual species war? DW tries to show off to the Tibble tire marks, who tease her for using training wheels. Their taunts succeed in pissing off DW, whose eyes cross so far that they shoot out of her ears. She goes back to buttering up her dad before demanding he take off her training wheels. Oh, looks like Mr. Reed got into the Adderall again. She barely gets on the bike before falling on her ass. She tries to ride again and falls headfirst into the garbage can, where she belongs. DW's dad offers to put her training wheels back on to prevent her from killing herself. DW tells her dad to fuck off. DW tries to teach herself to ride a bike, only to fall on her face and stab herself on a fence post. That's weird. Most vampires tend to vaporize when they get stabbed with a wooden stake. She almost makes it down the street when the Tibble tripwires cause her to crash. DW refuses to give up, no matter how many times she hilariously gets knocked down.
I don't care if it takes till I'm 21 and I'm one giant scab.
Oh honey, you crashed 6 times in the last minute. You're not gonna make it to 21. DW finally gets the hang of things, and her first instinct is to show off to the Tibbletrecs, who are so flabbergasted they crash their bikes and die. Okay, maybe not that extreme, but Timmy definitely stabbed his eyes out running face first into that bush. It's the day of the bike-a-thon, and the Reed family anxiously waits for Principal Haney to start the show.
Go!
Wait, he plastered his ass all over the posters and he's not even riding in the race? What a load of false advertising. DW is keeping pace with her parents when the Bildrat brothers speed past her with ease.
Hi, DW!
Maybe they'd go faster if Mr. Reed wasn't wearing his goddamn khaki pants. Like father, like son. DW spots a car passing by and begs her parents to teach her how to drive. Because if there's one thing the world needs right now, it's DW with a driver's license. Let's review. DW signed up for the bike-a-thon solely because her brother signed up for it first. She instantly got jealous of the Tibble's 2-wheelers and badgered her parents into getting her a big kid bike. She bullied her brother into teaching her how to ride and nearly got both of them killed. When the Tibbles continued to push her buttons, she insisted on ditching her training wheels even though she still couldn't ride a bike. She nearly broke every bone in her body before managing to stay upright for more than 10 seconds. She used her newfound skills to show off to the Tibbles, who still passed her immediately during the actual bike-a-thon. And even when DW successfully learned how to ride a bike, her attention immediately shifted to learning how to drive and begged her parents to get her a car. God help us when that day inevitably comes. FUDW.
And I say, hey!
The episode opens with DW's preschool class singing about the little old lady who swallowed a fly, a song about a woman with an eating disorder who engorges herself with live animals until she dies. The kids get ready for nap time as Emily wonders who in their right mind would try to swallow a live horse.
Why did the old lady swallow a horse? To catch the dog, to catch the cat, to catch the bird, to catch the spider.
Why does Timmy sound like James? Timmy, did you eat James? The big-headed brothers get into a shouting match over which of them would swallow a fly. DW pulls a 200 IQ move by throwing a blanket over them.
Throw a blanket over it!
Later that day, DW and James are playing on the swings when DW spots something in the sandbox and knocks James on his ass. DW finds a bouncy ball in the sandbox and immediately gets into a turf war with the Tibble tightwads.
Gimme it! Gimme! It's mine! Let go of it! Let go!
Emily lies to DW that the ball was a gift from her French nanny.
It's called a cheval. That's French for ball.
Actually, cheval is the French term for horse. Oh, that's why they called the episode that. DW believes her friend's fib without a second thought, but then says she wants to ask Emily's nanny if she has any more balls. It's the end of the day, and Emily is on the verge of shitting her pants. Thankfully, DW gets picked up moments before Emily, giving the French fibber ample time to flee the crime scene. That afternoon, Emily is watching Days of Our Lives with her nanny, as any 5-year-old would, when DW shows up with the Tibble turds in tow to demand the ball back. Emily says they can't come inside, lying that she and her nanny have come down with a deadly case of halitosis. That stinks. Emily goes to get some ice cream and finds DW spying on her from the kitchen window.
Ah!
Who does that? DW is now convinced Emily is lying to her, because nobody would ever eat ice cream when they're sick.
Maybe Maria Ann really is sick. Of course you would defend her. You are a snowball thief.
Shut the hell up, you resolved that shit 2 seasons ago. DW spots Emily's nanny at the checkout aisle and comes up with a plan to destroy her best friend's will to live. The next day, DW tries to entrap Emily into confessing when the dim-witted duo screw up her plan.
Ha! You're lying! You ruined the
trap. You're supposed to wait until she says Maria Len is still sick.
Sorry, I forgot.
DW tells Emily she saw her nanny at the store and demands to know the truth. Instead of coming clean, Emily digs herself in deeper by claiming the woman was actually her nanny's identical twin. Dun dun dun. The gullible goobers fall for her sob story, while DW is foaming at the mouth. She tells Emily to screw off before falling back on her reliable cuck. That night, Emily gets a call from Mrs. Reed, who offers her condolences. Because apparently DW is so petty, she roped her mom into her scheme just to weed out Emily's deceit. Emily is so upset that she has a nightmare where she and her horse get chased through the forest by a giant DW. And you know what? That's my nightmare now too. Thanks a lot, Emily. Emily gets saved by an old woman in a cottage, who offers her a snack. Surprise, surprise, the food turns out to be a fly, which is now buzzing around inside Emily's stomach.
I can feel it buzzing.
Correction, that is now my new nightmare. Emily realizes the lady is the same old woman from the song. The woman admits she made it all up for attention.
Maybe I told a little fib, and then I couldn't stop telling them.
But why? Potential cannibalism aside, why would you lie about eating live animals? Who are you hoping to impress with a song that ends with you dying? DW tracks down Emily and yanks her out of the house as she pleads for her life.
I'm sorry, DW. I don't know why I lied. I'll give you the ball.
The old lady does nothing to save Emily and instead decides to eat her horse. What the hell? Emily wakes up and finally comes clean. She confesses the truth to DW, who is still confused why Emily lied in the first place.
But why did you lie to us in the first place? We're your friends.
Are you, though? Emily admits she lied so she could have the ball all to herself. She offers it to DW, who, as it turns out, doesn't even want it.
It doesn't even bounce that well.
Instead of trying to track down the ball's real owner, the kids leave it in the grass for some other poor sap to find. Thus, the vicious cycle continues. Let's review. Emily lied to her best friend so she could have some dumb bouncy ball all to herself. DW refused to leave Emily be and stalked her everywhere she went. When DW got too close to the truth, Emily made up even more lies to save her ass. This led DW to badger and berate Emily at every chance until she threatened to stop being friends with her, which may not be the worst thing in the world. And even when Emily finally confessed and gave the ball to DW, it turns out she didn't even want it in the first place. So, F you Emily for lying to your friends and digging yourself in deeper until you made yourself sick. And of course, for stalking her best friend and badgering her to no end, F you DW.
And I say, hey!
Arthur explains how there are some things you can never prepare for, like having a little sister who's the spawn of Satan.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
At least now we know for sure that DW was a mistake. At preschool, Miss Morgan gathers the kids for story time. Everyone puts down their toys except for DW, who apparently can't hear Miss Morgan. Okay, but she can still see, right? Can she not see that the other kids have stopped playing?
DW, get on your...
That afternoon, DW is sitting in front of the TV with the volume on blast, much to her brother's chagrin. Her dad tells her to turn it down until DW whines that she can't hear. Mr. Reed takes DW to the ear doctor, who's conveniently named Dr. Tinnitus. Guess she must be the daughter of geriatrics and anesthesia. Is her grandpa named Pappy Smear?
That's disgusting.
DW tries to play off her problem by blaming it on Arthur.
I'm only here because my brother's mean and selfish and hates marrying Moo Cow.
That line will only get you so far in life. Mr. Reed explains how DW has had a rash of ear infections over the past year. What the hell has she been jamming in her ears? The doctor explains how the gunk in DW's ears is preventing sound from getting through. Gross. Dr. Tinnitus says they'll need to put DW to sleep so they can put fluid-draining tubes in her ears, and I'm on board with any plan that involves putting DW to sleep. That night, the Reed family is having dinner when Arthur graciously offers DW the last burrito.
Go ahead. You should have it.
This triggers her suspicions as DW is incapable of perceiving acts of kindness. Arthur continues to be nice to her while DW is perturbed by her brother's persistent generosity. Arthur brings her milk and cookies only for DW to yell in his face.
I want juice, not milk.
What kind of serial killer drinks juice with cookies? Arthur nearly snaps, but ultimately resists the urge to punch his sister's lights out. DW demands to know why Arthur is being so nice. Arthur explains that he admires DW for being so brave about her operation. DW savors the moment, as it's likely the only time her brother will ever be proud of her. The next day, DW goes in for her pre-surgery screening. The pediatrician tries to take a blood sample, and DW has a full-on meltdown.
Wait! I can't look! Hold me tighter! Tighter! Not that tight!
They get the sample, and DW lies to herself that she's braver than her brother.
Arthur would have cried like a baby!
Screw off. DW is ready to call it a day, until the nurse informs her that she still has 3 more doctors to see. That night, DW is worried she'll wake up in the middle of her surgery. She has a nightmare where she gets operated on by Miss Morgan and the Tibble Tumors, who determine she's the biggest coward in the world.
She has no bravery at all! Not a single speck!
I could have told you that. The next morning, DW lies to her dad that she doesn't need the surgery, claiming she can hear the TV even with the sound turned off.
I can hear it even with the sound off! Let's cancel the operation and have pancakes!
Mr. Reed assures her that it's normal to be nervous and tells her everything will be fine. The Reed family go to the hospital, where the nurse gives DW a number 1 patient sticker. This goes directly to DW's head as she declares herself the best patient in the world.
Everybody loves me! I'm the number 1 patient!
Mr. Reed holds his daughter's hand as the doctor puts her to sleep. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? During the operation, DW dreams of being a superhero with ultra hearing powers.
No one is too quiet for Superhero Girl!
So she's basically shitty Daredevil? Also, I'm no expert on superheroes, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to embroider your secret identity onto the front of your costume. The surgery goes off without a hitch. Damn. DW is heading home when she sees the same doctor give a number 1 sticker to another kid. This sends DW into a fit of rage, as there can only be 1 number 1 patient.
There can be only one!
Sometime later, DW is back to driving her brother insane as she insists on checking his ears. She tells him his brain is missing and then threatens to give him brain surgery. And honestly, I'm not sure which is worse, DW with a police badge or DW with a medical degree. Let's review. DW screwed up her ears so badly that she needed to get surgery. She took advantage of her brother's sympathy and yelled in his face whenever he did something wrong. She psyched herself out as the operation drew closer until her family convinced her she was going to be fine. She used her doctor's kindness as an excuse to inflate her ego, and imagined herself as the world's most craptastic superhero. And even after the surgery was over, she rewarded her brother's kindness by pestering him to no end and threatening to remove his brain. F-U-D-W.
And I say,
Arthur and DW watch their neighbor Mr. Sipple get ready to move. Arthur explains how Mr. Sipple used to be so annoying that he even got on DW's nerves.
It's 9 in the morning and some of us are trying to hear ourselves sing!
Mr. Sipple packs up the last of his belongings, but not before gifting the Reed children with a singing fish.
roll your boat gently down the stream.
DW becomes infatuated with the tone-deaf tuna and claims it as her pet, because I guess she's used to having pets that have already died. Trust me, I'll get to you later. DW beats Arthur in a staring contest and brags that she's the Stairmaster, which makes sense since she tends to walk all over her brother. Arthur demands a rematch when Pal gets into a barking match with a bulldog. You see, Binky? That's what a bulldog is supposed to look like. The bulldog freaks out DW by licking her leg, but sadly doesn't try to eat her. Turns out the dog belongs to their new neighbors.
We're the Molinas, your new neighbors.
I thought their last name was Vecinos. Wait a minute. I'm a dumbass. Mr. Molina invites the Reed family to dinner to meet their daughter Visita and his son Alberto, who's 5 years older than Arthur. DW delights at the idea of manipulating a young girl to be her protege.
He did it! It wasn't me.
Good.
The next day, Arthur and Buster watch Alberto from their bedroom window like a pair of creepers. Arthur worries he won't have anything in common with Alberto.
I'll be lucky if he doesn't give me a wedgie. What's that? I don't know.
Arthur, you wear grandma sweaters and Harry Potter glasses. You know what a wedgie is. Meanwhile, DW dreams of being Visita's senpai.
Here's the rope to tie me up with.
Nope, not touching that one. Dominatrix Winifred is overjoyed at the thought of having someone to boss around. She plans to kick Visita's ass at Tower of Cows and confuse the goose.
She probably doesn't even know what a goose is.
I can't tell if that's racist or ageist. Either way, shame on you. That night, the Reed family heads to the Molinas for dinner, while Arthur and DW bitch and moan all the way to their front door. Mrs. Reed tells her kids to shut up, as she's eager to make friends with adults who aren't her husband's fuck buddy. DW tries to sink her claws into Visita, only for the 3-year-old to run circles around her. They play a game of pick-up ticks, gross, and Visita wipes the floor with her. Though to be fair to DW, this game doesn't make any sense. If the objective is just to grab all the ticks, then it's not really a game of skill or chance. Whoever has the longest arms will always win. At least you get an even playing field with hungry hippos. Meanwhile, Arthur tries to act cool around Alberto. Guess how that goes.
Pretty cool stairs.
Bruh.
Alberto takes him upstairs, and Arthur fears what he'll find in his room.
Posters of rock groups, or even worse, posters of girls.
He's 13, Arthur. You should be way more worried about his room smelling like day-old ass. Surprise, surprise, it turns out Alberto is an even bigger nerd than Arthur. The two bond over their love of Bionic Bunny, while DW continues to get her ass handed to her by Visita.
You're the hot tomato.
DW is such a sore loser that she begs her mom to take her home. Before they leave, Alberto lends Arthur his Spanish comic books, leading the latter to experience his first man crush.
Alberto is so cool.
The next day, DW tries to boss around Visita on the trampoline, which would probably work if she was any good at gymnastics. Arthur starts to cling to Alberto like plastic wrap and lends him his walkie-talkie so they can keep tabs on each other every minute of the day. Wonderful. That night, Arthur tries to get Senpai to notice him.
Alberto, look out the window.
What you doing?
He asks Alberto to translate the Spanish comics, because it's 2002 and Duolingo won't be a thing for another 10 years.
What does Conejo Bionico mean?
It's a Bionic Bunny comic. What the hell do you think it means? Though it's weird the Spanish name ruins the alliteration. They could at least call him Conejo Computerizado or Conejo Cibernetico. Arthur continues to pester Alberto as he has him translate the comic book word by word.
What does an L mean?
The, Arthur. It's the masculine form of the. Tu eres un cerdo hirmiguero idiotico.
What?
I took 4 semesters of Spanish in college. I gotta use it for something. DW makes one last-ditch effort to break Visita by teaching her her favorite game. DW turns her back for 2 seconds, only to find her protege has mastered the relatively simple task of stacking plastic cows. DW calls it quits, and chews out Visita for daring to be better than her.
You were supposed to let me teach you how to do it. You're the worst student I've ever had.
Yeah, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Later that week, DW is bitching how she'll never have someone to boss around.
No paint like this.
While Arthur tries to invite himself to the cookout. Turns out the Molinas are having a private family barbecue, and Arthur can't seem to fathom why he's not invited. Mrs. Reed intervenes when her husband starts to get a hard-on for Mr. Molina's jerk-rubbed chicken. Yes, I know jerk chicken comes from Jamaica. Shut up. The next day, Alberto brings Arthur their leftover chicken, along with a Spanish to English dictionary, so Arthur can translate the comic books himself. Which is nice, until you realize this is Alberto's subtle way of telling Arthur to piss off and stop bugging him.
To tango, I've got you.
Meanwhile, DW is taking her plastic fish for a walk, as any sane child would do, when she spots Visita freaking out over her dinner.
The peas are touching the potatoes!
DW knows just what to do, because much like herself, sensory overload is a real bitch.
Green and white foods can never touch each other. It's a 3 7/8 thing.
Is that really the lesson you want kids to take away from this PBS? DW saves the day thanks to colorism, and finally gets the loyal Koi she was hoping for. Fan-freaking-tastic.
Will you show me how to blow bubbles and how to whistle?
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Let's review. The Reed kids scared off their next-door neighbor and were hell-bent on doing the same thing to their new neighbors. Arthur pestered Alberto to no end when the older boy showed him a sliver of kindness. Arthur insisted they stay in touch and then called him persistently so Alberto could translate his goddamn comics. And Arthur only backed off once Alberto gave him the most backhanded gift imaginable. Meanwhile, DW spent the whole episode trying and failing to boss around a little girl, who was already superior to her in every conceivable way. She yelled in Visita's face when she refused to play by her rules and almost made the poor girl cry. And even when she inevitably won Visita over, she instantly regretted becoming her senpai, even though that's what she wanted in the first place. So, F you Arthur for sucking up to the one cool kid you know and using him as a human dictionary. And of course, for trying to boss around her new friend and then yelling in her face, F you DW.
And I say, hey!
Hey, I have a Patreon. Sign up at patreon.com/mattneff to get your name in the thank you credits, along with early access to every FUDW and the chance to vote for future episodes. If there's a movie or show you'd like me to talk about, top-tier patrons can commission a review for my channel. Check out the link in the description to become an FUDW superfan. Also, I'm now on Cameo, so make sure to check out my profile to get a personalized FU video.
And I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. If you can learn to work and play and get along with each other.